This is Coop with GarageGymReviews.com, and today I'm going to review the Adidas 2016 Leistung Weightlifting Shoes. The first thing I want to talk about are the looks. Now, when you look at this shoe, you're going to decide whether you like it or not. The majority of you probably are not going to like it because at least the majority of weightlifters I've met aren't into, the high-tech, ultra fabric, flashy, weightlifting gear that's always out. A lot of people really like the Adidas Adi Stars. In fact, the Adi Stars are the most popular shoes I think Adidas has ever created, the ones with the wooden heel, white, very popular. And a lot of people were asking that Adidas come out with a retro version of those. I hope they will in the future. I don't see why they wouldn't. But this is kind of the culmination of all of the newest fabric, tightening systems, anything new and high tech is basically incorporated into this shoe. This is the opposite of the Adidas Adi Stars. It has a plastic heel. It doesn't have a strap. The laces aren't even laces. In fact, it's a BOA system. So just right off the bat, if you're a major fan of the Adi Stars, these may not be down your alley. The looks of the shoe, I'm not a huge fan of them. The color's fine. I like the red just fine. However, one color I don't like, and I don't think a lot of you guys will like either, is the color on the heel. The heel color through the camera looks a little bit orange, possibly. In reality, it's pink. It's like a neon pink, something that you'd find on, some runner that got it at Victoria's Secret that says "I love pink" across the front, or some Kool-Aid drinker CrossFitter, something Reebok would make. That's what it would be on, something Reebok would make. So I'm not a huge fan. I don't know why they decided to have such a contrasting color against the red. It doesn't look good. The next thing about the shoe, if you look really closely, there's a bunch of little David stars on there. And in fact, they're on the bottom. This is a German company, mind you. I don't really know what they were thinking when they decided to put those on there. Maybe they didn't notice them until after they were already released. As far as heel height goes, it definitely feels higher and it looks higher, especially when compared to the Adi Star or the Adi Pros, excuse me. For me, I have bad ankle mobility, so anything that puts me up into a higher position in my heels is something I'm a fan of. I would say these are more in line with, say, the Anta weightlifting shoes and the heel height that's on those. The lacing system, if you want a secure fit, the BOA lacing system is awesome. I mean, it provides a perfect tightness to the entire foot. Okay, so it doesn't have loose in some areas like traditional lacing systems do. Very simple. To tighten it down, you just press down the little tab. And twist. That's it. And then to release, you pull up the tab and lift the shoe up. Very simple, very easy to use, very intuitive. It looks kind of ugly in my opinion. I like the way laces look. That's just because I'm used to them. The toe has some breathability to it. The outside, really has none. I didn't find my feet getting overly hot, but I didn't use them for a super long time. The grip is similar to just the Adi Pros. They have a similar, feel to them. I didn't notice anything bad about the grip. As far as the width of the shoe, it fits my foot just fine. I have a thinner foot. It fits very similar to the Adi Pros. There's some people out there that really like Romalios because they're a wider shoe. I have some Romalios and they are too wide for me, and I just have a thinner foot, so I naturally go to Adidas. As far as them being any wider than the Adi Pros, I wouldn't say they are. I'd say they're pretty much built on the same last as the Adi Pros. As far as direct comparisons between the Leistungs Adi Powers and Romaleos 2. These two are very similar in weight. These are a little bit lighter. They don't have the strap. However, I really don't think the strap's needed with these because of the BOA system. The BOA system just provides a really solid uniform tightness versus the lacing system, and there really wasn't a need for a strap, although I like the look of the strap and I think it would have been a nice touch to add on to the shoe. But you can pretty much tell that all they're going for with this shoe is high performance, and that's what they've accomplished, I think. Compared to the Romaleos, I think the heel heights on the Romaleos and the Adi Powers are very similar. So these have a higher heel for those that have trouble in their ankles, like myself. As I said, I would suggest going with these simply for the higher heel. Now, durability wise, the materials on these are, futuristic. This isn't like, I don't think this is a leather, this is some kind of plastic. A lot of glue is used in this, very little stitching. It's a uniform fit. The only stitch on any of this around it is that back piece right there, as you can see the seam, and then as it's attached to the neon color there. Other than that, it's all uniformly put together. Will that lead to negative consequences on durability? We'll see. I think it'll take quite a while for you to see that. Leather tends to hold up well, and as you can see, I use these quite a bit. They're starting to develop some, just various, wear throughout the shoe. This is plastic, and I think it'll take the same as any other shoe. So some final thoughts on the shoe. In my opinion, I think these are a great shoe. I think these are the most high-performing weightlifting shoe that's available. Now, are they ugly? They kind of are ugly. That being said, weightlifting isn't a fashion show. Weightlifting is about lifting weight. So if these help you put more pounds or kilos on the bar, why not use them? They are a little pricey. They're about $225, whereas you can get, Adidas Adi Powers for $150 pretty easily, or even less than that. Same with Romaleos, which are both awesome weightlifting shoes. So does everybody need to run out and get these? I don't think so, but they're a great shoe. I would definitely suggest if you see somebody that has them, try them on, because they are very comfortable. The fit, I really do like the BOA system. If it didn't look so, god awful, it would be, absolutely awesome to use, but it is very ugly. But, like I said again, weightlifting isn't a fashion show, and in reality, it does provide good performance. So that's kind of my final thoughts on the shoe. If you have any questions directly about them, feel free to ask them in the comments section. I'm also going to write an article about this to go in a little bit more in depth on them, and talk about a little bit the overall fit and finish of the shoe. You can find that. I'll put a link in the bio below for that as well. Thank you for watching. This has been the Adidas Leistung review. Peace.